Hey, it's your boy Jack here. Welcome to the second episode of my Walking Dead rant series here on YouTube, where I'm talking about Season 8 of The Walking Dead. I'm so excited to talk about this because I love The Walking Dead. Today I'm going to be breaking down the season premiere of The Walking Dead, titled Mercy. But before I do, if you want to check out my Walking Dead Season 8 predictions video, I'm going to put a card up right here if you want to check that out. As well, before we break down this episode, one of my favorite lines from the episode, trying to pick between this line and the other line I'm going to say, I'm going to put a poll on Twitter and on Instagram if you want to participate in that. But my favorite two lines of the episode were, "May my mercy prevail my wrath." That is said by the guy who's sorta Sadiq, but sorta not Sadiq from the comics. He's the guy that was in the old gas station area. He said that. Along with that as well, my second favorite line was the whole Negan monologue that he did, where he's like, let's not play whose dick is bigger than yours, cause like I know mine is bigger, but I'll be comfortable with it if it ain't. And like I love that line. That was just hilarious. I'm pretty sure it was from the comics. Loving that line. It's just such a great Negan monologue. I think that's such a great start as the opening battle for this season, so yeah. But before we go into that whole battle sequence, let's dive into the very beginning of this episode. Firstly, I love the beginning sequence. I think it was so important for them to start off on a positive note, where you have Rick, King Ezekiel, and Maggie united together, showing that they are a united force like they were in the beginning at the end of season 7. And I felt like that was such an important thing to show. I really like that because showing them united in this season, where it's going to be a whole war sequence where there's going to be good, bad, and the ugly, and the bloody, and everything around that. I think it's important that we show a united front. So say if I was ever going to rewatch this season, or if something really bad happens, say maybe in the next episode, I can use the first opening sequence speech as sort of as a memory back to why they're doing this, as a bit of a memory of the motivation that happened and everything. And I feel like that's the thing that I really liked about it, is like you start off in 3/4 of this episode is really a motivating speech there, where it's like Rick is trying to motivate people, and then like Maggie talks about how like we can do this, and like I love King Ezekiel and how he said, he's like, if you shed blood with me, I will be your brother, or something like that. And then like he said that to Maggie and Rick, and I think that was just beautiful, because it's like, you're willing to die for me, or you're willing to shed your blood for me. It's like I am willing to shed my blood for you, and I think that was just a beautiful line there. And I'm just loving that. You sort of get that like, heck yeah moment, where it's just like Rick is doing his speech, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go to war. And I think that just really is such a great purpose of this beginning sequence that we have. Along with that, we do see a bit of Old Man Rick, and then we see a very sad and very emotional Rick, and everything. I think Old Man Rick, obviously, can be either seen as two things. One, either a dream sequence, or two, that could really be seen as like a possible feature. Obviously in the comics, that's sort of how the society looks, and that's how sort of society is built. And like I love that like you get like the development of a lot of these characters and everything in that sequence, and it's like sort of like adorable to see Judith like growing up a bit more, and like how I really do like her as like how her journey's been, although it's been very minimal, and like she's been a secondary character. I think that's just another reason why I like Rick just being a dad, because like you also have that other perspective of like the remembrance of like Judith as a character. But I feel like that sort of B-rolls into the other side of Rick, where he's very emotional and everything. That whole sort of like storyline that he had, where it's like it's not like I think that's more feature Rick, and like him being emotional, and him being like him like crouching down, and you can see he's sad, and like there's like a glass panel like right here, and shining against like a stained glass window or whatever. I feel like you'll get what I mean. I feel like that may be a representation of a very big or very major death. Now, there's a lot of theories I'm sort of thinking about of where this may go, but like really a death that big, I feel like this is sort of where it's like I may be viewed as like, why would this ever happen? But I feel like that could definitely be Judith. I feel like obviously Judith isn't really in the comics, and I feel like that would be such a powerful death, because I think a lot of us in our society look at children as like a new hope, a new generation, a new building onto this block and everything. And that's what I sort of like, is that, you know, you have this whole sequence there that's going on, and Judith is sort of the new generation, and like they focus a bit on her in the feature sequence. And that would be really a very powerful moment if that ever did happen, is that if Judith does die, it would be emotional. It would be a huge moment in the TV series, and obviously heartbreaking for Rick. And yeah, I feel like that would be a good moment. But I also feel like that could also maybe be when he gets captured by the maybe the trash can people or something, like the scavengers. I think they're called, yeah, the scavengers. Like if they ever get caught by them, I feel like that could maybe be a sort of sequence that happens there. I'm not sure yet. Obviously they haven't really explained it, but those are just a couple theories that are going through my mind there. I really liked that. I really liked how Rick had like 3 major storylines there, where it's like you have the future Rick, the like emotional Rick, and then you have like the main like present day going to war Rick storyline. The one thing I'll say is, I think the thing is with that sequence, I think it may be an intention of a dream sequence, because we saw this. I think what they're trying to do is mirror the season 7 premiere in a way where it's like you have all this sort of stuff where it's like you're like you have that whole dream sequence at the beginning of the like at the end of the season 7 premiere. Then you have sort of like this dream sequence that happens or seems to happen at the beginning of season 8 during the premiere, and like it sort of goes through the whole season. And that's one thing I'll say, is like I think that sort of maybe a connection to that, just as a sense of like what this world may be, or what this world would be a hope to be. So yeah, also, but yeah, I felt like the beginning sequence was really good. I feel like they really foreshadowed a lot of these characters moving forward into the series, and that's something I really liked. It's like I like how they sort of foreshadowed that in a sense. That was really interesting. But yeah, moving forward as well, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next episode, just knowing how like the second half of the episode does work out. I love that they did like the whole all like sort of classic first battle, and like they changed it a bit for the TV series rather than they did it for the comics. I thought about it, and it's like, well, why would the writers want to write it in a way that they have like a bunch of cars sort of shielding everybody? And it's like, it sort of does make sense in a way, but I also would have like loved for them to have a whole like lineup of like the hundreds of people there, standing with Rick, standing with Maggie, standing with Ezekiel, and like them all standing together with their guns aimed at Negan. And that would have just been a badass moment, because like they did that in the comics where they have the whole standing together, and I think that would have just been such a great moment to have. Obviously that didn't happen. Okay, like I'm fine with that. Like I've sort of thought through it, and it's like tactically that makes a lot more sense to have a lot more armored vehicles there, because it would just make a lot more sense tactically, so it prevents people from getting shot. And like I feel like that would make logical sense for the TV series, because obviously the comic's different. Yeah, I did like that sequence. So I like how they were sort of shooting at the windows, and it's like you sort of wonder, why are they shooting at the windows? Because it probably makes the most sound in order to attract the walkers to go to the sanctuary. And like I like the walker herd and everything, but like I just felt like maybe I would have loved a lot of a bigger walker herd. Like just seeing them invade the actual sanctuary and everything, that whole sequence that happened, like it felt like there were like no walkers there. Like I sort of am like a fan of it being like like just crazy ass like walkers everywhere. Like it would just be like they would have it, like sort of like how No Way Out happened in the comics, where it's like the zombie herd invaded Alexandria. Like basically it was packed. Like you would have to kill your way through this in order to survive. And like that's what I sort of felt is like I liked it. I think it was good, but I just sort of wish that maybe they would have maybe done that a bit differently. Where it's like it's a lot more packed, like it was like sardines, like how many walkers there were, because that's how it was sort of in the comics. Yeah, I like that all-out war, and like I love the Negan monologue. Okay, so I love that Gregory had that whole like storyline there. Obviously, like they changed it up a bit. They pushed him down the stairs, not off the platform, and like I thought it was smart. I thought it was really smart. I liked how they did it. And like yeah, I do love Xander Berkeley's portrayal of Gregory, because it's like so annoying, so like bad and like petty, and like yeah, I just really liked it. One thing I sort of liked, but I also was like, can we hold the phone here, because like it's only the first episode of 16 episodes here. Can we sort of maybe hold the phone on like the battle sequences that happened, because they just dive right into like the Outpost attacks a bit in the beginning of that, and I like how they sort of foreshadowed it a bit and everything. And I understand that it's war, and I like how they built it, but I felt like maybe it's going a bit too far, and because like personally I'm like wanting to like wait my time for it, but I'm also sort of excited because I like how they dove into it, because obviously in the comics it was right immediately after, and like I sort of like how they didn't really announce it, and that was sort of maybe self-explanatory. Yeah. And like the moat too, I love like the walker moat that they had with like the fence, and it was just really creative on how that sort of happened. Yeah, like on the one outpost, and then the other outpost, how it's like a smoke bomb, and then there's like walkers everywhere. Very smart for the Saviors. I like how they wrote that and like did that whole scene, and I'm excited to see what happens in the future episodes. So on a side note, although Gregory is a huge dick and is greatly played by Xander Berkeley, I feel like the whole like Father Gabriel and Negan being paired up in this like trapped in the trailer is like a really good opportunity. I feel like obviously Father Gabriel most likely won't die right now, but he's not going to die in the trailer, I don't, like actually in the trailer or in the next few episodes, because he is a huge bargaining chip there. Obviously, although he wasn't in the like OG lineup that happened like when Negan like said hello and killed off Glenn and Abraham, I feel like that is a good bargaining chip for him to have, because if he could really drag Father Gabriel and like capture him being a prisoner and be like, Rick, I'm gonna kill this guy if you don't stop the war, or like whatever, like it could be a good bargaining chip as well. I feel like Father Gabriel, he's developed as a character, and although he doesn't have a gun or anything, I feel like that would be a really interesting conversation, him being a man of faith versus Negan, who really is like a guy who's like, I don't care about whatever you do as long as you don't like rape women or anything. I think that's what really, so yeah, like I'm really interested with this dynamic, because these two characters are very different in like persona and like how they act in their body language themselves, because like I'm excited about that. I'm excited about how this will go down. The one thing I'm gonna say about Father Gabriel and one thing I'll add about Tara is like I feel like those two characters are probably the worst developed characters in my opinion on The Walking Dead, because like yes, you have Tara, but it's like she's very 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 much of a secondary character, if not a third level character, where it's like she's not really there at the front for the most part. She's had her episodes and everything, but like I don't feel like I'm comfortable with how she's been developed. Same with Father Gabriel. He was a great asset in the comics, where he sort of turned into the funeral director, and yes, he sort of disappeared into there. But I really do like what they've done with the character per se, because he was really boring in the comics. But I really hope that like the second somebody dies or something, or they have a funeral for someone, he is the Kingpin funeral director there, because, yeah, and, like, I'm really hoping that they do a lot more with his character when it comes to the ideas of, like, religion, and, like, obviously they mentioned the Quran, and, like, quotes from there in this episode. I'd love to see different opinions there when it comes to religion in the world that they're living in, and how the society that they've built for themselves views that in the different religions, and how, like, certain ideas in Christianity are viewed there. So yeah, that's the one thing I'll say about his character is, like, I feel like they're not going for that, and, like, obviously that is a touchy subject and a touchy topic, but I'd be really interested to see how that would sort of infuse into how this world works. So yeah, obviously though, as of right now, I don't feel Father Gabriel's gonna die, but I'm really interested to see how the conversation between Negan, who's very extroverted and very cocky, versus someone like Gabriel, who, although is very good at knowing what he needs to say, is someone who's very very introverted and can get very intimidated very easily. Love to see how those two character dynamics work in between each other. So yeah, that's all I really have to say there. So yeah, let's break down what I think is gonna happen in episode 2, called The Damned. And I think that's maybe like I love how it's like this first episode called Mercy, and then the second episode called The Damned. I like that, just because it's like, like the sort of contrast between them, where it's like you're begging for mercy, and then it's like now you're becoming the damned people, maybe, in a way. I like that. I think that may be a bit of a prediction of what's going to happen in this episode. Obviously, they attack the 2 outposts. They attack the satellite outpost, which, like, I love that they brought that back, because it was just sort of a bit of a connection into that. And I love how they changed that with the walker moat. Along with that as well, I like how they did the other outpost, and it's going to be interesting and exciting how they change this all. Obviously, I think what's probably going to happen is what's going to happen in the comics, where you have King Ezekiel. He's going to survive, but you're going to see Shiva. You may see some other big characters, maybe someone like Tara. This is where I think that she may die, because she's a character that I feel like they may want to develop for the future, but it'd be a lot more important to kill her off to represent the significance of this war. And that's what I think may happen, is that during this attack sequence on the satellite outpost, I feel like that she may die, like whether it be a shot in the head or what. That would be a really significant moment there. Obviously, it'd be really full circle in a way, where she started off on the governor's side, and, like, she sort of understands, like, the idea of, like, leaderships and, like, how persuasive they can be. And then, like, she comes full circle here with Negan, where she's actually fighting with Rick rather than fighting against Rick in a way. And, like, I sort of like that. I think that would make a lot of sense for her character and how she would maybe want to die. And I feel like, too, they may not bring back the Oceanside people, because, like, they felt like sort of like a one-time thing. A lot of this, so too, I discuss in the Season 8 predictions video. I'm linking that down below as well, also at the end screen. But yeah, I feel like she may die. Obviously, Eric may die as well. We see him a lot more, obviously, in this season, because this is how his comic book death happens. And I'm excited to see how that happens and everything. I wonder if it's going to be the same shot in the head and everything. And I feel like that would be really important and significant to Aaron's character, as it was in the comics. And, like, I think a lot of death needs to happen in these 2 outpost attacks, because I feel like they may want to, like, in the next maybe episode, maybe a bit more quieter, because, like, you have these 2 attack sequences, then you maybe need a bit of time for, like, a bit more time to, understand the effect of those 2 attacks. And that's the thing, like, it's all about war and all-out war here. And that's what I think may happen, is, like, I'm hoping maybe the 3rd episode they sort of calm down a bit, maybe have a bit more of a chiller episode where they develop certain characters for the future, but it's also maybe a look back about these 2 attacks and everything. So yeah, it's going to be exciting what's going to happen. It's all out war, and people are good. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about the coming next episode, episode 2, The Damned. Let me know what you think down below or what's going to happen there. Along with that, feel free to participate in my Twitter poll and my Instagram poll that are going to be happening. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. My name is Jack Skinner. If you want to vote on my Twitter or my Instagram poll that I'll be doing the day it comes out, which will be Thursday, feel free to do so, about what your favorite line of this episode was. I'm going to put those 2 episode lines in the polls. Feel free to check that out. Along with that, if you want to check out my Twitter and my Instagram, those will be flashing on screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Jack Skinner. If you want to check out my first episode of The Walking Dead Season 8 predictions video, I'll have it right here. Along with that, if you want to follow me on my and subscribe, you can subscribe right there. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Jack Skinner. You have a great day and a good night.